Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are doing a character we've never done before and a character who I've never actually read before. Have you read this character before?
I think just team-ups.
Okay, we did Ghost Rider. It's a Marvel Knight series, and specifically this is called Volume 5. I don't know why it's a volume of Ghost Rider, because that's usually like slated for series, like 10 plus or 12 plus more issues are usually considered a series, so or a volume. But this is like just a mini series from Marvel Knights by Garth Ennis and Clayton Crane, and it's called Damnation, or the Road to Damnation. Road to Damnation. So we picked this one. I said specifically, we were like, hey, what's a character we haven't done before? And I was like, okay, we haven't done this one. I'm like, ooh, Garth Ennis wrote a Ghost Rider story, and if you don't know who Garth Ennis is, he did such wonders as Preacher, and he's written a bunch of Hellblazer. He did a bunch of fucked up war books and everything. He did Punisher, Max, so like a bunch of stuff like that. So he's usually very violent, very sweary, and very anti-religion and stuff. So like, or very like, what's it called? Blasphemous. We'll say.
Yeah.
So like, so yeah, I thought, oh, that would be a fun writer for this character. So we decided to read this one, and like you said, you'd only read them in like team ups. What were those team ups like? Were they just like, I don't know anything about this character other than he rides a motorcycle and he's on fire.
Yeah, no, I think usually the team-ups were like, it's like him and Wolverine or him and Blade, and
But traditionally, like, what is his deal? Like, what's his story?
like he's like collecting souls to like make up for him selling his soul. And, like,
Oh, so he's killing bad guys to make up for what he did before he became
or what he yeah, like there's been a couple different reasons why he became Ghost Rider. Okay. It's usually he's giving up his life for somebody else's.
Gotcha.
And then the only way,
he's repenting.
Exactly.
Okay.
To get back is to take other people's souls. So.
Okay. Cool. All right, well, that kind of gives a little bit of, because I was like, I don't know anything about this character other than, and you don't really need to know anything about him in order to read the story, because they start off introducing you to him, and then this is kind of its own one, like we said, one-off story. So
yeah, this is just a little mini series,
and it ends where it begins too. So like, there's no like need to continue or go further than this, really. So, but this would intrigue me to like read some more stuff if it was like this hardcore. The problem with some of these hardcore characters is you read the hardest core one first, and then you're like, that was badass, and then you go back and read the 60s or 70s stuff, and you're like, oh okay. Well,
yeah, there's no way like original Ghost Rider. Like I like original Ghost Rider's look too.
Yeah, yes,
like his bike is cool and his like spiky shoulders and whatnot. But there's no way he's like
as cool as this.
As this one.
Yeah. But yeah, so we should say right off the cover of this fucking book is very, very cool. It's got Ghost Rider on the front, and he's on fire. And Crane did this. And the interesting thing is, we were talking about this earlier. The art is interesting because it's painted, and when it's Ghost Rider, it's fucking awesome looking. But pretty much everything else in this book kind of look like hot garbage.
All of the human characters, like
their faces change, their models change every time they are in a different panel.
And then most of the time when you have like more than one demon on the page, you can't tell like how many there are.
Oh yeah, it just looks like that was another thing. He's in hell, and it just looks like a jumble of stuff. It doesn't look like you can't even see anything really. So it's, I don't know. I was torn about this art. We'll go into it more as we get into it.
Some of it, like you said, like when Ghost Rider's doing shit,
cool.
is awesome.
And then some of it was like, what? Is he phoning it in today? Or like, what's going on? I mean, he's painting it, but like, there's a lot of painters who do stuff. And I'm thinking maybe this is like, it could be this potential, because this is early digital, that the coloring is what fucked it up.
Oh, that's true.
Because if it's all digital coloring, and Ghost Rider might be easier because he's just yellow. He's on fire and he's got black.
Black, yeah.
So like that's easier to color, say, than what did all these hell demons look like? And you're painting them, so they're all kind of. He's painting them, and then they put the comic book colors on it, and yeah, I could see how it just wouldn't translate correctly or something.
That's
you know?
true. It's possible.
So that's possible, and maybe that's why. But I'm still gonna grade it on it. Still looks like hot shit from Marvel. So like they should have realized that like this doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's still. You mean like it has to go through.
Yeah, there's an
chain
editor and
of
all
command.
this chief.
Exactly, and then they look at this and they're like, "Yeah, go ahead and print it and put it on stands."
Yeah, or like have a reason for it and like talk about it. Be like, oh yeah, this is just digital color's not where it needs to be in it yet, or whatever, or something like that. But anyway, let's get into this thing. We will say the other thing about this book. We read a version of this book, the actual issues of this book. So the funny thing about this is we don't normally read books that have what's it called?
The old
ads,
old school ads in them from the time.
And this book has more ads than I've ever seen in a comic. I was like, Marvel must have been hard up for money at this time.
This is a 26, 30 page comic.
I think this first issue is supposed to be 24 pages, and it's 55 pages with.
And all the rest
ads.
of those are ads.
And they're like shitty got milk ads and like ads from the early 2000s.
Don't do drug ads.
Don't do drugs. Yeah,
a lot of those.
The girl with the floppy arms or whatever. Like, this is what happens when you do drugs. Your arms get floppy or whatever. It's like, what? What is this trying to tell me? But yeah, there's so many ads for shitty TV shows or shitty movies and stuff from then. But we might comment if we see something that's funny, just so you know. That's what we're commenting on. There's bad ads in this. But anyway, we start off with some badass imagery, like we said, of Hellblazer, of Ghost Rider in hell. He's got his fucking motorcycle, and it just says, like, basically every night it's the same. He, like, I guess every day is the same. He starts and he's just fucking flooring it with his motorcycle, trying to get to the gates of hell to try to get out of them. Yeah, to escape. And these monsters are chasing him the whole time, all these demons and everything. And
yeah, there's all these different demons that have, like, I guess different purposes, but they're not, like, important to the story.
Yeah, they might name some or whatever, but it's not, like, important. Yeah. And but he basically, it always ends with him getting caught right before he gets out, and then they do everything to him. It says they rape him, they tear his body apart.
Yeah, they literally rip him limb from limb.
But they do say they rape him, so I'm like, geez, they like, this is super fucked. Like, just they go all out, and then he says, and then I become whole again, and I repeat,
start it all over. So
yeah, and they show his body being like ripped apart by all these tentacles and like spider legs and all this weird shit that's in there. So. It's not fun. It's not a fun thing, but that's his punishment for his sins. And this is, we should say, the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, because there's more than one. I know there's a Hispanic one.
That's the newer one that has the car.
We'll call him the Ghost Driver. That's what people call him because he drives the car.
And then there's the old West one on the horse.
Is that actual Ghost Rider though?
Yeah.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah, he's Ghost Rider.
Okay.
I just don't remember his name.
Maybe I'm thinking of another. I think there's another character called Ghost Rider, maybe from DC, that is a cowboy-ish guy, but he doesn't have like the flames or anything. He's not a skull or anything.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm getting people mixed up or something. But whatever. There's probably crossover characters that look similar or whatever.
I'm sure, yeah.
But especially those old school ones. But yeah, so every night this repeats. He just gets thrown into here. In hell, back and forth every day. And so then we cut to like the moon, I guess, or no, we cut to New York on Earth, I guess, and we see two angels talking. What are their names? Malachi?
Daniel and Malachi.
Yeah, Daniel and Malachi. I don't know if Daniel's the name of an angel.
I was surprised they didn't do like Gabriel or.
Yeah, I was like, that's the weird thing about this. They just put like Bible names in for like angels. I'm like, Daniel is not an angel. Like in the Bible, and same with Ruth and other people. He's
a lower angel.
Okay, is he? I don't know.
I don't know.
Just a regular angel, but yeah. So we got the angels named Daniel and Malachi, and basically they're the kind of angels like from Dogma or whatever. Like they're just like these fucking mortals are stupid. why does God love these things? You know, these stupid monkeys.
Yeah.
And
I love that they recognize that like they can be out in the open, but there are some people that can see them.
yeah, they say there's like 4 million people on Earth who could see them out of all of the population.
Yeah.
And then like one guy looks up, is like, "What the fuck?" And they're like, "Of course, one of them's here." And then they do like a sigil, and they disappear or whatever.
Yeah. There's one lady that looks at him. And
We should wait till like this is like the best thing.
Yeah.
This is one like the first time I was like, "Hell yeah, we're going here." But yeah, there's a scene later on where an angel named Ruth also gets seen by someone, and it's a much different ending.
Yes.
To that one. But yeah, so these angels are talking, and this is where I started to go, what the fuck is with this art? Like, it's the way that they're posing them too. Like, there's a picture of, I think it's Malachi talking, and he's got his eyes almost like rolled up for some reason. Like, I don't understand. Like, they're like rolling up to the back of his head almost, like if he's looking at his eyelids or something. But it doesn't make any sense for that scene. It's like, just show him staring forward.
Yeah,
I don't understand why your pupils are above your fucking eyelids.
And this is a perfect example. They have just the angels talking back and forth in the panels on the page. And in 2 panels, like they look fine. They look almost picturesque, like statue faces.
And the rest of them are like wonky.
Yeah. They different.
It's like he doesn't have the anatomy from different angles correct or something. I don't know. And once again, maybe it looks great without the color. I don't fucking know. But it looks bad from different angles. And yeah, it just kind of changed depending on how they were, showing it. So I'm going to say I've never seen Clayton Crane do any other art. So maybe he's like a really respected artist or something, but I've never seen any other thing he's done. So
yeah, I didn't know offhand. But and then, like I said, sometimes it's absolutely fantastic. It's just a little there's some oddities in here.
Yeah, it just looks wonky. And I was trying to think, like, is this his style? Like, because there's artists that have a style, but like that like usually that doesn't fuck with their ability to keep the same character proportions in each scene or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they still have the same model, no matter what view they're at in the thing. Like, if you look at Fred Quietly, you might not like his art. But from every angle, Superman looks like the same Superman or whatever, So, yeah, we will say when that person does see them, it's a woman, and she looks up and she's like, "What the fuck?" And they're like, "Oh, we got to do the sigil." They do the sigil, and then they're like there, and like a bright light flashes, and they go, "She just miscarried," and they're like, one less mouth to feed." Like, so this is how angels view humans. Just like, they don't give a fuck that they just killed this baby. And like, they're like, we don't,
it's
one
pretty
less baby to feed.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So that just sets the tone for this. Like, the other stuff was, Ghost Rider's cool, it's violent or whatever. But this sets the tone. This is a Garth Ennis tone he's setting with those kind of comments or whatever. And then we get this character. I like this too. We see this character. We don't know who he is, but he's just a guy in a Cadillac. He's a big fat guy. He looks like Boss Hogg from like Dukes of Hazzard or whatever, and big fat guy, cowboy hat and everything. He's driving his big Cadillac, and he's singing away all these country songs, and he's in the middle of nowhere too, like probably in Texas or whatever. And these bikers, when they say bikers, like some of them have traditional like Harleys or whatever, but some of them's got like ninjas and stuff too. I'm like,
interesting to ride together.
Yes, interesting, but basically they start harassing him, and they're like, "Get out of the way," and one of them starts to show off, and we see this guy, his face goes a little evil when he realizes these guys are trying to like pass him and like fuck with him or whatever, and the main guy that was trying to fuck with him flies off his bike, and he just like twists his whole spine around, basically, like totally fucking dies. And like breaks his back, and then this guy, I assume it's because his face went evil or whatever. He did something, and then you see the guy's still alive, and he's looking up at him, and now he's he was all tough on the bike, and now he's like almost crying, and his face is all fucking road rash and everything, and he's looking up in fear, and you see the guy go over him, and he's like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna, I like you. I'm gonna make an alteration or two, and you can ride with me." And then basically he makes the guy put his head up his ass.
Yep.
And then the guy's speaking to him. He's like, I don't know what you said, but just to let you know, your new name is Buttview. And so he names the guy Buttview. And yeah, the dude's got his butt up his ass.
Yep.
So interesting start to the comic. And yeah, so then he's like, you can be my side driver or whatever, my side passenger. So Buttview is magically alive now. With his spine is literally, he's bent forward from the front, and his head goes up his ass between his legs. So,
yeah,
it is a interesting design with his spine popping out and everything.
I like the spine popping out.
But he's still alive, and he's able to like talk to the guy. We don't know what he's saying, but the guy, the driver will talk and be like, "Oh, that's a good point," whatever.
Yeah, all you see is like muffled.
Yeah. This is classic Garth Ennis. There's a character from Preacher named Arseface.
I think I've seen a design of him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's in the show and stuff. So if you've ever seen the show, but yeah, like he does shit like that. Like just like what the fuck, like he comes up with stuff, But basically, we come back to the Angels, and now they're still talking about like, what are we gonna do about this thing that we're talking about? And they're like, I don't know. It's like, well, maybe we found some help. I have an idea, and they're talking about like there's a rider, there's a ghost rider, or there's a ghost rider who could help us with the thing that we need help with. They're not really saying what it is yet. And they're like, really? You think he'd be okay? He's like, well, how do we get him out of hell? He's like, well, we'll have to figure that out. But I think if we could get him out of hell, we think he'll have the power at least to fuck up the other two or whatever. So we don't know what they're talking about really, but they're basically going to try to get Ghost Rider to help them with whatever their task that they're talking about is. But then they kind of allude to there's like they're talking about someone named Kazan or Kazan, I don't know how to say his name, and like he's gonna have a lot of trouble, but we think that Ghost Rider will be able to take on or at least give a fight to Haas and Ruth. So we're like, okay, Haas and Ruth. We don't know who they are really, but they kind of allude that okay, those are, one is from heaven and one is from hell. Kazan is maybe like a power that's coming up that they need to watch out for. We don't really know what he is or who he is. But yeah, basically they're going to get Ghost Rider out of hell in order to try to take on Haas and Ruth before whatever happens. We're not sure what's going to happen. So then we cut to a woman who's named Ruth on her credit card, we see. And it says, I think it says higher power is the name of the card.
Of the card, yeah. Godspeed.
Yeah, it says Godspeed is the class or whatever of the card. And so she pays with her credit card. And then this was the other thing. I'm like, why would she need to pay if no one can see her? But maybe she can make people see her as a human or whatever. Yeah. But yeah.
But some people, I think that's the thing is some people see like them, that they are angels. They see the wings or whatever.
Yes, okay, that makes sense because this woman looks like she's a human, but then this kid in the diner goes, that lady has wings, and he's staring at her like, what the hell? And he's drawing on a piece of paper, and she's like, that's nice, honey, whatever. He's like, no, Mom, you don't understand, that lady's got wings. And then she looks over at the kid, and she does something like a sigil, like the other two did, and then the kid takes this pen, or pencil that he has in his hand, and it's like she's forcing him, and then it gets closer to his eye. He's like, Mommy? And she's like, what? And then we hear, ah, as she's walking out of the fucking restaurant.
Yeah, she makes him jab it in his eye.
Yeah, and just like, wow.
And then she gets on this like Greyhound bus.
Well, first she's like, the mom says, what? And before he jabs it in his eye, he says, that lady says I'm a sinner, and then stabs his fucking face with the pencil. They don't show the pencil being stabbed into the kid, but he has a child get stabbed by a pencil by what we find out is an angel, an archangel named Ruth, and it's pretty fucked up. So they set up they reveal at the end of this comic that basically Kazan is a demon who's not playing ball anymore. Yeah. So there are the traditional sides of heaven and hell that back and forth they play a game of tennis of the apocalypse or not the apocalypse, or this is going on but not going on.
Yeah, basically how like there's always there's a back and forth, but it's still a yin and yang, and it's like there's always like a balance to it. But Kazan's like, nah, we're not having that. It's basically like hell on earth. Let's bring it. Let's do this. Let's have Armageddon, and then these guys are like, well, yeah, we can't let that happen.
Well, no, these guys they want the Armageddon because they don't like what's going on in heaven or hell either. Like they're like, this is fucking annoying. Like, couldn't we just like win or lose? Like just have it be done, and then we can control whatever we're gonna control. And so that's why they want Ghost Rider to stop Haas and Ruth, because Haas and Ruth are the each side. That Haas is Hell's warrior and Ruth is Heaven's warrior to keep it the status quo.
Yeah.
So let's say they are the soldiers of the Clintons and the
of the God and the devil, and then Kazan and
if you have the Clintons and W's, and they and then they each have a warrior. You'll have to decide who's heaven or hell in this situation.
Wow.
But yeah. So basically it's like either keep the status quo or mix things up. And Kazan and these angels, Daniel and Malachi, want to mix things up, and but heaven itself does not, and hell itself does not want the things fucked up. So basically that is like the setup of this comic. This is like they're gonna get Ghost Rider out. They just got to figure out how to get him out so he can fight Haas and everybody. And that is the end of the first issue. And then we start with issue 2. Just same. There's always a fucking first page is a commercial. For Got Milk, nonetheless.
Donovan McNabb got milk. So quarterback for the Eagles.
Hell yeah,
back in the day,
dude. I still thought he was the quarterback. That's how often I pay attention to football. But then we get introduced to like kind of the secondary big bad in this. Yeah. I liked this guy's storyline, especially with his secretary. I thought this was very cool. But there's basically a big oil magnate in this who is like this big fat fucking I don't know what I'm trying to think what he would be like, who he's like in a movie or something.
Well, so he kind of reminded me of like a high-tech Mad Max character.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah, he's got a wheelchair, but the wheelchair it makes him taller than everybody and stuff. But he can't walk. But it's still like he's 8 feet tall because this thing has like hydraulic legs.
Yeah, like it will it'll like pick him up straight, but with wheels still. So
yes, but he's basically he's talking about like he also hates men, and he's trying to bring he's made a deal with basically Kazan. We find out as he's talking and stuff. He doesn't like the world, but he's been promised by Kazan that if he helps him come back, he will have legs again and stuff. Yep. So,
and his name is Gustav.
Yeah, Gustav. What's his last name? I can't remember. They call him Mr. Gustav, so that must be his last name. I don't know. But yeah, so
Earl Gustav.
Earl Gustav. His last name. Yeah, so his last. We'll just call him Gustav. It's fine. Gustav's like this, big fat. He's got like a tube and everything too. So they almost make him like a. He's got the little computers, so he's kind of like. He can talk though, so I don't know. I guess he can't move. I guess he's quadriplegic because he can't move his arms too. So yeah, he's got like a little thing so he can type as well and everything. I don't know. This is like all this weird stuff. He's got gizmos on his chair, but basically he has this boardroom happening. He's also got his secretary with him, and her name was it Cat?
Catmint.
Catmint. That's what it is. I always wanted to say Katniss,
but yeah,
it's a fucking Hunger Game. Catmint, which is an interesting name. But Miss Catmint is her name, and she's like an interesting character in this book. She is down with the clown. She's down to follow this guy wherever because she's his secretary, and she's like, it's like she's just doing a good job. She's like not paying attention to like what's happening, or at least it's not. She's not thinking it's like a real thing, but like she is like just down by whatever he's doing. She's by his side, like, and she's on board with it, but like it's weird. It's a weird thing until the end. So basically, she's with him. He treats her kind of like shit, but like she is his most dependable employee, so he likes that about her. So he goes to his boardroom. The whole board is there, and basically he fires them. Like he's like, "Hey, fuck all of you. Basically, you're all terrible. You're all fired." And then, and they start saying like, "You're just a fucking cripple, and you're a monster." And he's like, "What did you say to me?" Like, and then he's like, "I will be in my private chambers." And so he lets them all go. Then he goes to his private chambers. You see, there's like a fucking pentagram. And it looks kind of like there's all these sigils and shit all over the walls and stuff. And there's like a painting of, I assume, demons or something because it looks all blobby. And yeah, basically, he starts talking to Kazan, and they are setting up like, oh, you know what? I'm ready to come now.
Yeah, the one thing about Kazan right now, and the Angels did mention,
they mentioned this.
He doesn't have a physical form right now.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like...
he needs to be granted a body somehow.
Yeah.
He needs an acolyte to do something to give him a body. So he's setting that up. He's like, I'm ready to come back with my body or whatever. So then we cut back to Ghost Rider, who is, riding towards the gates as always, as usual. But this time...
He's right there.
Yeah, this time he's like, holy shit, I'm like gonna be free of this. I'm so close. And then, like, hell's tentacles are grabbing his wheels and fucking almost pulling him back. And he's doing it. And he actually gets through the fucking gates. And he's like, holy shit, I did it. But then he's like there and he's like, wait, I'm still
in hell. Wait a minute.
What the fuck? And then all of a sudden we see Malachi comes down and is like, hey, I'm an angel. I'm Malachi. Like, will you be my warrior? Like, I'll help you or whatever. And then we cut back to Mr. Gustav, who is being told by Kazan, like, yes, I am ready for my body. Will you please prepare the meeting or whatever? And he's like, oh, yes, okay. So,
oh, and we should say, though, this Gustav is they're in Dallas. They're in Texas.
Okay, yeah. I figured they would be in Texas.
But yeah.
We saw Haas in Texas, and we also saw that woman, Ruth, is in the diner in Texas. So, this guy, is an oil magnate in Dallas, Texas.
Makes sense.
So yeah, he's like, basically we actually see Kazan talk. He's like kind of like an eyeball or something just floating, or like an orb floating. But he's like, basically, I need my earthly body. So if you could prepare, you're gonna have to call back the people basically that you just fired for their last meeting or whatever. He's like, oh, okay. So he gets Miss Catmint to call the board that was just fired, and he says, tell them to come back.
Tell them they're all forgiven.
You know what? It was my bad. And then we cut back to Ghost Rider talking to Malachi, and Malachi's like, look, it's a simple question. Do you want to be back on Earth or not? I can get you out of hell, but you have to do this for me. You have to get Ruth and Haas, and you got to fight them and take them out because they're bad. He doesn't really tell them exactly what's going on. He just says, you need to do this, and if you do, then I'll get you out of hell forever. And so he shows them Ruth and Haas, and it's like, okay, these are your targets. These are your objectives. You need to take them out. Basically, they're just kind of, I don't remember why he tells them that they're like, I can't remember why how he tricks them by saying, oh, they're bad or whatever. But one's an archangel and one's a demon, and they're working for something bad, basically, is what he's telling them. So yeah. Then this was interesting. This was like an interesting. I don't know why this is in the comic, other than to just like shock or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're in Texas. This is 2006 or whatever.
To be fair, there are a couple towns in Texas that you probably wouldn't go to. There's one that has a sign up still.
Okay.
It's called Vidor, Texas.
Well, then
if you don't know about it, all you got to do is Google Vidor, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've never been in this part of Texas.
I haven't been there either. I just know of it.
It just says, welcome to Texas. Be friendly. The Texas way. And then we see there's a bunch of KKK members who have strung up a black man, who they're about to hang him. and they're like, how dare you try to marry my daughter? Like the head guy is saying this, and basically he's got a white daughter who's going to marry this black guy, and they're about to hang him, and then all of a sudden, he's like the black guy's like, what? Like, I can't believe you guys are doing this. Like, this is like, what century are you living in? And the guy starts giving him like, oh, whatever, like, we're gonna kill you. And then all of a sudden he pauses, he goes, and then Ghost Rider bursts out of
there's like a flaming like hole, I guess, opens.
I don't know if it bursts out of his body or if it like just he happens to be right where the spot opens up from hell, where the angel Malachi gets him out. But basically he explodes the KKK member all over the place. In fact, he does. All the KKK members get blown up in some sort as he rides through them.
Yeah, because
they're behind the guy, so like he explodes and then he and just like chains
just comes through like 90 miles an hour.
And just tears them all apart. And then the only people left alive are the daughter of the KKK member and Jimmy, the man they were going to hang. And oh my God, this was like I laughed out loud when I read this. So the daughter's like he doesn't understand. He didn't understand us, Jimmy. He was set in his ways. He couldn't see how two people like us could be in love. My mama, she'll understand. She's going to love meeting you, Jimmy. And then you just see, and she's like, Jimmy? And she looks back at the noose and you see Jimmy just fucking booking it out of there. Like, fuck you. Like, I am not meeting your mom.
No, I am not sticking around here.
Like, hey, I feel like this was her being like, don't worry. My dad's a little old school, but I'm sure he'll be fine with this. Yeah. And then like this was like Jimmy and her meeting him for the first time and him being like, hold on a second. And then like goes and gets his boys, puts their hoods on, goes and hangs him, getting ready to hang him. And like this was just supposed to be like him meeting him. So I imagine her being like, now daddy's a little old fashioned, but mama is fine. And he's like, fuck you. So man, I thought I laughed out loud. You just see this figure like running away from her in the darkness. It was fucking hilarious. But yeah, basically she that's the only point of that scene was just to have Ghost Rider murder a bunch of KKK members. Which hey, sure, why not? And so if he's gonna murder anybody when he comes out of hell, that makes sense.
KKK Nazi, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So but yeah, so then we cut back to Gustav and he's talking to his board members. He's like, I'm sorry, guys. I was having a weird day today.
I love this.
My bad.
This was actually one of my favorite panels. He invites him back, and there's like an old dot matrix printer "I'm sorry" sign hung across the wall, and like it even says budget pizza boxes.
But he bought budget pizza for them, and then
it's like
the paper. I just saw that. I did not notice that until you were talking about it.
That was like one of my favorites. Like just the shittiest this guy is a multi-millionaire. And he's like billionaire. And just the shittiest, like, here's some pizza and like a paper, like, I'm sorry, card or sign.
Yeah, the paper, like you said, is that dot matrix kind, which is the kind, if you remember, those printers that all print on one giant roll and you have to split it as it's pulling out, like it's all perforated along the edges and everything. It's like that.
For those of you who remember, and if you're too young for that, go look up.
If you ever have to go buy HVAC parts or auto parts, you will see this machine.
That's true. That is where they still have.
Yes, and you can also pay by check there. And so, But anyway, he's like, "I'm sorry, guys. It's my bad. I was having a mood."
Why don't y'all come into my office?
Yeah, why don't you come this way? And I got a new project I'm going to show you. And they're buying it. They're like, ooh, a new project? Like, don't worry about it, Gustav. Like, it's bound to be a real moneymaker if you're saying it's a good project or whatever. And thank you for, like, not firing us. And they're all like, this is exciting. And then they walk into this room, and there's no lights. And like, can we get lights? And then all of a sudden, the floor lights up, and they're in the pentagram in his special room. And then all of a sudden, one of the guy's spine just rips out of his body. And he's like, ah! And they're like, oh, he's having a heart attack. I'm like, a heart attack? His fucking spine starts ripping out of his body. And yeah, basically, all these people just start shredding, I'll say, or exploding.
Being ripped apart, like from like nothing.
It's like something is inside of them ripping them apart. Yeah, like just from the outside in. It's very Hellraiser-ish or something, you know?
Yeah.
And then when they're all these body parts now just like minced together in this pentagram.
Yeah, just a pile of bones and like flesh goo.
Yeah, then it all swarms together, and then we get to see what the body Kazan builds himself. And it is a terrifying body.
Yeah.
It's funny because it kind of looks like it's got wheels. He makes like wheels out of their spines and stuff,
Yeah.
like to like walk around on or whatever, or to wheel him around on. I was like, that's an interesting choice. I was like, is that going to come into play like with him and Ghost Rider?
And Ghost Rider?
Like, are they going to ride against each other or something?
Yeah, do like
I'm
a
actually happy that
jousting
they
thing.
did not do that. But yeah, that would have been stupid. But basically, it's like Kazan has come, and like it's all epic and shit. And that is the end of issue 2.
And they do make an airplane "Don't Call Me Shirley" joke because she's like, Shirley, you can't be serious. Like this is like which is the grand plan, and he's like,
yeah, but she doesn't bat an eye about it.
Yeah,
she doesn't bat an eye. Like Miss Catman is like, oh my. Well, anyway, I'm your secretary or whatever, like steadfast and true. And then like, yeah, like you said, she says, Shirley, like this can't be good. And he's like, and don't call me Shirley. Like, and so that's the last line. I knew John was going to bring that up because he's a nerd. So John's a big old airplane dork.
Yeah, we can't not love the airplane movies.
I love them. Who doesn't love them?
Yeah, who doesn't love them? I have a drinking problem.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, so that's the end of book 2, and then book 3 starts, and we see the angels now are on the moon because they're like, this is better so that the humans don't see us or whatever. But they're right where like the moon rover is, and
yeah,
the American flag is planted. So apparently Garth Ennis is a moon believer. Right?
Yeah, it happened. We did it. It was not filmed in the basement in Hollywood somewhere.
Sure. Sure, John. Whose pocket are you in? John's.
I got that fat cat money.
That sweet government money.
Cheese.
Yeah, they literally gave you cheese.
Literally, the big wheel of cheese.
So we got money or cheese. You're like, I'll take the cheese, sir. But yeah, so they're just talking about like, yeah, you know, Kazan has a body now. Do you think Ghost Rider's gonna be able to handle everything? And they're like, well, he should probably be able to slow things down for Haas and Ruth. You know, so basically, hopefully he will, you know, get there in time. And then we see Haas is riding with what's his name? What's the butt guy's?
Buttview.
Thank you. and once again, like it's ridiculous. His head is up his ass. His ponytail is sticking out of his ass. It's such a weird. Like his ass is at the top of his body now because
it's been
back
pulled
has been
so tight.
Yeah. So yeah, his little ponytail from when he was a biker is sticking out of his ass. That his head is now up, and his head is at where his head should be. His ass is. So we'll say that. So, so we see Haas driving with Buttview, and he's in his Cadillac, and then all of a sudden, Ghost Rider. Right past him.
Moves right past him.
And then all of a sudden he's like, who's that guy? And he's like, holy shit, it's Ghost Rider. So he's like, whoa, how does he know who Ghost Rider is? And then he's like, ain't you supposed to be in hell? And basically Ghost Rider's like, oh my God, it's you, it's Haas. And like they know each other from hell because Haas is a demon.
Yep.
And Ghost Rider was trapped in hell. So yeah. And then we cut back to Kazan, and Kazan is like, just talking about like, hey, is this place secure? Because people are, you know, coming to attack and everything. So we got to make sure everybody's, you know, ready. And then he says, oh, I got like 500 of the best like military men who are like assassins. They're like the military guys who are like psychos that you want.
He's like, well, I mean, that's going to be pretty much fodder, but I mean, I guess maybe they'll slow him down
a little bit. You know, take some time to kill all those people at least. So then he goes like, he's like, so, or Gustav's like, so, I mean, I did what I said. Can I get what I wanted? You know, like, when will I get my reward? And he's like, oh, you want your reward? He's like, well, you know, in the future, you know, when this is done, you will be, I assure you, you will have a place, you know, in my, where we're going to be or whatever. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he's like, but like, here you go. Like,
but yeah, here's a taste. Yeah.
So he doesn't say it's a taste at
That's
first.
True, yeah.
But Gustav is like, stands up and he's like, oh my God, I'm walking. I can walk. And he's like, fuck yeah, I'm cured. And then all of a sudden his legs then fall out from him again. And
Face
he
first.
smacks down face first on the ground. He's like, just a taste, Mr. Gustav. Like, we can't let you. We gotta like make sure you stick to the whole plan. You can't.
And I love that he calls Catman over, and I love to think that she had to pick him up.
She has to pick his fat ass, like
and put him back in the chair.
He's 4 times bigger than her. Like, just picking him up and trying to get him back into his wheelchair is ridiculous. But yeah, so basically, we cut back to Ghost Rider, who is now identified Hoss as the person he's supposed to be fighting, or one of the people he's supposed to be fighting. So he fucking blows fire on him, which I thought was fucking cool. He blows fire on on them in the car because it's a Cadillac with its top down or whatever. So and they burn. Like, I thought that was cool. Like, Hoss burns and Butt View burns. And and yeah, so but Hoss is like, don't worry. And I thought this was cool. Like, he just shows the skeletons like driving still. He's like, don't worry, Butt View, it'll grow back. It'll itch a little bit, like, but like, but yeah, like his head is still up, his bony ass, Somehow his head is still there, but like, but yeah, so like basically he's trying to get Hoss back to hell or whatever, and they just fight for a bit, and then all of a sudden a bus comes out of nowhere, and we're like, wait, who's this? Well, it looks like Ruth is on that bus. She sees them fighting, and she takes control of the bus and basically like runs them over, like, he tries to run them over with it, but it like splits because Ghost Rider has all these chains. He's kind of like Hellraiser, with all these chains can fly out of him and stuff, and like grab
Hellraiser,
shit.
And kind of remind me of Spawn too.
Spawn can do that too. So yeah, there's like, I don't know if this is traditional. Like, does he have those chains all the time?
I don't remember them popping. I remember he has a chain as a weapon
belt or whatever.
Yeah, like he either pulls it like of a belt or like a kind of like a bandolier kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, these almost seem like they popped out and they're like crazy endlessly long, basically.
Yeah, like they're as long as he needs them to be. They can come out of his mouth. Like, like he shoots like 4 at once out of his mouth a couple times. So like he's basically just encircling, Hoss with this. And then Hoss, like, I thought this was funny. Hoss unzips his zipper and like a giant tentacle comes out where his dick should be.
Yeah.
And like grabs I keep wanting to say Hellraiser.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Ghost Rider. And yeah, so then we cut to this weird like church service.
Yeah, this was a kind of taken out of the moment. I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, we see this priest who's, I guess, supposed to be Catholic.
Yeah, this is definitely.
Okay, I don't know.
Definitely a gaudy Catholic church.
Okay, so this priest is
Father
preaching.
Adam.
Yeah, Father Adam's preaching about how, and this was interesting. I didn't know if they were trying to say like this guy's fully been corrupted, because later on it seems like he hasn't been corrupted. He made a bad decision once or something, But now he's talking about like to the people like capitalism isn't bad. See that verse where like Jesus throws the money lenders and the merchants out of the temple isn't because capitalism's bad and money's bad. It's because they were doing it in the temple. So there's a time and a place for everything. So I feel like Garth Ennis was just like that's all bad, but like, and this is like showing he's corrupted. But then later on, it just seemed like, oh, this priest fucked someone, like had an affair with someone, and then in desperation made a deal with the devil or something.
Yeah, that's basically we say that now. Yeah, he freaked out about his impropriety relation. Yeah, whether they don't say if it was. They don't really say necessarily underage or anything.
That's what I thought they were.
That's what I thought
too.
Because it's Catholic priests, And I'm not to throw all of them, but like the majority of that, when you think of that, that's what you think of with the Catholic Church.
Well, I don't know if the majority, but you're saying that's what you think of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. If you think of if someone says something bad happened sexually with a priest, you're like, oh, you're talking about children, and it's like, no, this was just an affair or whatever with a.
Yeah, it's true, because you're not supposed to at all.
Yeah.
So and he immediately was like, I got to fix this, and
he
made a deal,
the devil
with
or
the devil
or a demon, and then just to like take it all away, I guess, so he can keep his fatherhood or whatever.
Yeah.
So basically, in the middle of this service,
he could have just repented and said like 5 Hail Marys, I guess.
but he would have been kicked out of the church, man.
No, I know. I was making a joke.
I got you.
Because they're always like, oh yeah, just I don't know, say 5 Hail Marys and 3 all fathers or whatever. And
Sure.
Yeah, and it's fine. You're absolved.
Yeah.
Because you go confess your sins or whatever. So.
So in the middle of this sermon, like he's giving the sermon, and then all of a sudden the like holy water next to him starts talking, and it's like a demon like, hey, I need you to kill someone. Like I need you to take someone out. And he's like, what? And he just like walks away, and people are like, what's going on? Like they're like, what's wrong with him? And he's like having a conversation, and basically a demon is telling him, hey, like we need you to kill this guy. And they show Ghost Rider, like we need you to take him out. Apparently he was in the military, right? So like he has military badassery in his past. So they're like, we need you to take this guy out. It's the Ghost Rider. So he's actually working for the traditional hell and heaven side because they want to keep it status quo. And Hellraiser,
Ghost Rider
is on the anarchy hell side or whatever.
Yeah,
so
because he was recruited by
the by the angels who are trying to throw things up in the air a little bit, so cause chaos. So they're like, we want you to take Ghost Rider out, and like here's what he looks like, but first you know what you got to do. So he just walks away from the pulpit mid talk, and they're like, what's going on? And then he walks down into his basement, and they're like, his people start walking up on the stage like, Father Adam, are you okay, or are you done for the day? And then you see there's just in the basement of this place there's like guns and there's just
tons of oil drums.
Oil drums that are obviously explosive. They're like rigged to explode, but there's weapons. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? That's why like I wish that they kind of went into this guy a little bit more. Like, what did he do that's so bad other than the thing? Because it seems like he's straight and narrow except for the one affair he had, and then he like sold his soul and that was it. But apparently maybe he's like an assassin for the demons, and they call him every now and then because he's got a full weapons warehouse in the basement of this church, along with enough oil drums to explode, gasoline drums to explode the whole church up. And that's what he does. He sets a timer. He gets out of there, and he hears his congregation like, Father, are you down there? And then just boom, and he's out with his rifle, and he escapes.
A couple bags of stuff,
Yeah, there's like catacombs or something he got out in. So, and then like we said, we cut back to Ghost Rider fighting with Haas still, and like we said, Ruth is about to hit them with the bus, and she does kind of. She like hits in between them, and enough to like cause confusion and kind of like what's going on and like what is this bus and like trying to hit us now. And then Ruth comes out and like, oh shit, it's Ruth. And then basically they're just trying to figure out like, or Haas is mainly trying to figure out with Ghost Rider, like, why are you here and why are you trying to attack us? Are you working for Kazan or whatever? And he's like, ooh, like, who's Kazan? Like he doesn't know what's going on. And so and then Ruth throws a bus at them while they're talking. So like Ruth is also trying to fight both of them as well. So then we cut back to Gustav, who, this was funny, they're like preparing their base like for the attack of Ghost Rider, or not Ghost Rider, but for Ruth and Haas, who are coming to attack them. And then we see like the ultimate plan of like what's going on this. The base is the oil tower that they were in, but the end game is that they've built a drill.
Yeah, I like that it was just a giant drill.
It's, if you've seen the movie The Core, it's basically that drill, but it's like and this was interesting. So they show Cat Mint, who's like, the secretary, and like Kazan is now like kind of her boss too or whatever. So he's like, did you, Miss Catmint, did you put the sigils on the drill? And she's like, oh yes, I did that yesterday or whatever. Like, oh great, thank you. You were just the best. Like I just thought it was funny that she's like she has like thank you, sir. Like she just loves being a good secretary or whatever, like or a personal assistant or whatever the fuck they call her. It was just like so funny that like she's just so happy taking orders from a demon. Just anybody who will give her praise of like, you're doing such a good job.
Just way to go.
It's just amazing how it's so hard to find good help, and you're so good at this. And then we see the drill is like super giant or whatever. So
we have a long way down to drill.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly what's going on with this drill, but obviously they're trying to drill to hell or something. And so then we start the next issue with the bus having hit Ghost Rider and Haas, and Ruth is gone. And they're like, "What happened to Ruth?" And it turns out Ghost Rider turns around. He's like,
"Where's my bike?
Where's my bike? Yeah, who stole my bike?" And then shows her riding away with Ghost Rider's bike, and it is now like electric blue because she's like holied the bike out. And
she's holy.
It's going fast as fuck, basically. But yeah, she's heading her way to where this drill is. We cut back to the drill, and basically we kind of get what the point is of this. So, like the drill is to, like, it's got sigils on the front of it where like the drill is, the face of the drill. Once it gets to hell, it's going to hit magma, and that magma is going to activate the sigils, and it will open a gateway to hell.
Yeah.
So
basically,
demons to come.
Hell on earth.
Allowing the demons who are on Kazan's side to escape and fight with him or whatever. So, but that's what's going on now. But also, Ghost Rider and Haas take his Cadillac. Now they're driving together with Buttview.
Yeah,
and
Haas is like, you know what? Just stick with me. We'll figure this out.
Yeah. Well, there's no reason for us to fight. It's fine. We'll
Well, he makes it seem like, hey, like this Kazan guy is causing the problems. That's what we're here to stop. That's what you're got to stop technically too. It doesn't really matter who stops him, right? Like he's trying to appeal to him.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I'm not here to stop Kazan though. Like, I'm here to stop you guys. But he's like on their side. Once he hears the full story, he's like, okay, Kazan, I get it. Like, he's the big bad or whatever, so I can get on board with that. And so I thought this was funny. So Buttview is driving. I don't know how he's driving, but he farts, I guess, a lot. Maybe while he's talking or something.
Yeah.
And Ghost Rider is sitting behind him in the car, and he's like, "Your friend seems to be having digestive problems." And then Haas goes, "Well, imagine what it must be like for him," because his head is up his ass. And so basically he's just farting. I don't know if it's farting or if he's shitting. I don't know what's going on because he has digestive problems, and you don't it's painted, so it's kind of hard to tell what's exactly happening on the page. But basically, something bad's happening. So, and then we find out kind of like what's been going on with Kazan and like why they're after Kazan, and they kind of, like we said, say for the longest time there's always been like good and bad obviously happening in the world, and Kazan has been able to like figure out, he's been able to rise through the ranks by like we'll call it clairvoyantly figuring out when the good guys are going to create the peacenik stuff or whatever, and the push for peace, and then he'll preemptively start things like World War II or whatever. So you have the peacenik things happening, like maybe we'll say the peace accord or the what would be, I don't know, the League of Nations or something starting, and then but he'll plant like Hitler or Nazism or whatever, and then that will take over instead of the peace thing that was supposed to happen. Yeah. So he's been able to, as a demon, rise through the ranks of hell just because he's been able to predict these peaceful times somehow. We don't know how, but that's what Haas knows. He's like, man, fuck this guy anyway, because he's like that. And like, I've been doing this forever, and I'm never that high up or anything. So they eventually are now getting to where Ruth is already, or Ruth arrives at the base where Kazan is, and rides up, and they're like, what's this lady doing on his motorcycle? Like,
can
hello,
I help you, ma'am?
Can I help you, little lady? Did your motorcycle run out of gasoline or whatever? Like, they start talking down to her, and these guards are fucking idiots. If they're trained killers, like he was saying, they're fucking idiots. Because basically, they walk up to her, and she rips a dude's arm off and throws him.
Did she decapitate that guy with like a little chop to his head?
She just does like a force to his head with her hand, and his head falls backwards, or slams backwards. We'll say, neck and all, just and then you just hear over the radio, "She's here! They're here! There's attacking!" And so she's got 2 guns on the motorcycle. The motorcycle's driving itself, which is kind of cool. And she's got 2 guns while she's like in one in each hand. It's pretty fucking cool. But yeah, like
made me feel very like Matrix-y. Like
yes, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is after the Matrix, so that might be what they're kind of going for. But yeah, you just get a lot of her fighting humans, which is easy for her. And they're basically like, well, it's too late already. Like, we're about to hit magma. So, like, even if she makes it through, it doesn't fucking matter. Let's let her tire herself out on these humans. And so, while she's doing that, the drill hits the magma, and it opens a gateway to hell, allowing... well, it's funny because Cat Mint is like, well, now what happens, sir? And then all of a sudden, these fucking hordes of demons come through the portal or whatever, and overwhelm the base. And this is what I thought was cool. So he's an oil magnet. When they hit hell,
that's such a
all the demon like spawn or whatever come out, and it looks like oil coming out of a derrick. It looks.
That's funny.
Cool.
I didn't even put that together. That looks really cool now that you said that.
Yeah, like the way he painted it, it looks like an oil, like they struck oil, but it's hell oil or whatever. So it's cool. And so that happens right as Ghost Rider and Hoss pull up. While Ruth is attacking everything already, so
looks like we're a little late.
Yeah, looks like Ruth already started the party, So, so then, like we said, everybody's kind of this is like the end game, right? And so, it says hell has come to Texas or whatever. So, we see the demon army is now rising. They're supposed to help Kazan, conquer Earth or whatever with everybody. Like with everybody who's on his side in this like chaotic, like we want to have chaos. So he's with Malachi and all those other people, and basically, Ghost Rider and them get there and they start fighting.
And then the Father Adam also shows up. He took like a train from where he was.
Yeah, and he's got like a fucking 50 cal sniper rifle or whatever, and he's set up ready to take out Ghost Rider when he gets there, and then. The interesting thing is, Cat Mint, ever since all these demons fly out, they're like, she's like not on board with them, which is I thought was weird. I was like, you seem,
but they're creepy.
I guess they're creepy demons. She was okay before.
Yeah, she's okay with
watching the people explode
Kazan.
And Kazan turning into a body or whatever. So Ruth is still fighting demons now because the demons are coming through, but she's like an archangel, so she's like. Not having that hard of a time, but now everybody's fighting demons now. We get to see like Ghost Rider's powers as he's like blowing fire and fucking chains coming out and fighting, and they just get to fight some demons. It's kind of fun. These pages were the ones where you're like, what's going on? Sometimes like just a lot of the coloring is super dark, and there's a lot of things happening. So. You're just like, okay, massive demons. Is just what my brain says. It's kind of like if you have stacks of money, you're just like, stacks of money.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know how much money that is or which money it is. But
I did like Malachi and Daniel are still just watching from the moon, and Daniel's like, oh, man, we should have just stuck with dinosaurs. Like, this is all ridiculously chaotic.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good line. One of the best scenes in this fight scene is Ruth finally, finishes killing her demons. And so does Hoss, and they start looking at each other, and they both pick up a body, like a human body, and they smack the bodies together as they're like their swords or something.
Yeah.
And they just explode apart. I thought that was funny. They're just like using bodies as like fighting weapons or whatever.
Yeah, that's freaking hysterical.
Super fucked up. But the Archangel kind of kicks Hoss's ass eventually, and she goes up. And we see the preacher is now ready to he's carved bullets on this or crosses on his bullet, and he's ready to take out Ghost Rider. And it's interesting. The first shot misses, which I was like, wow, that's interesting.
I don't know if he missed it or if he just happened to dodge it.
I feel like he missed it.
Yeah,
because it doesn't show him like dodge. He's just there in front of the scope, and then you just see it miss. Like maybe he turns for a second and his head shifts slightly, and he didn't anticipate that, but he misses for sure.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, "Oh crap!" And then Ghost Rider shoots a fire bullet back at him, like a hand through his hand or whatever. Or no, from his mouth.
No, from his mouth. He's
and see, that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes the art, I'm like, what is exactly happening? But it's from his mouth, and it blows up the little area where you think the priest was, at least, because later on the priest comes back and does actually shoot Ghost Rider. But we see when the preacher gets out of this thing, he's like burned alive. He looks like Spawn, actually.
Yeah, he does look like Spawn.
Yeah, he's like, God in heaven, one more chance, Lord. And so like he's able to live, I guess, because of that. And then like the last issue of this starts, and like we said, everything's pretty much gone to hell, literally. The portal's open, and but like we said, Catmint is kind of they stated earlier when this happened that the only people who could close this portal are Kazan and Gustavo. Sorry, Mr. Gustav. And so I guess because he rose Kazan or something, or his blood is mixed or whatever happened, the only one of those or two of those people can close the gate. So it's interesting. Like Catmint has an interesting turn where she's like with Gustavo, and she's like, well, how can we do this, sir? Like, we can't kill all these people or whatever, and these demons. And she's like, I didn't sign up for this. And he's like, if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself, whatever. Basically, like, you'll die too. And then we cut to the ground where Ghost Rider is fighting Kazan, and he actually is like burned Kazan's body and stuff, and is like doing a pretty good job. I was surprised.
He jumped his bike at him when it was a cool shot.
Yeah, it was like pretty badass. He's taking him on, but Ghost Rider is not in a good position. He's about to die. We see the true body of Kazan is quite angelic, surprisingly. Interesting. He's got wings like an angel. He's got flowing locks of hair. But yeah, his spirit rises up, and then we cut back to Catmint, who's about to push the boss over the edge now, because he's like on the edge of a cliff, and she's like, oh, you're terrible or whatever. And he's like, what do you want? Please no. And she's like, look, you're the only one besides Kazan, who has the power to close this. So close it now. And so she's about to push him over, and he's like, fine, no, I'll say it or whatever. And he says the incantation, which then closes the gates of hell, or it starts the suction of the gates of hell back. So all these demons are flying back into hell because they've been like put back in. And then we cut back to Ghost Rider, who is now, I guess, in an act of desperation because Kazan is like, I'm going to kill you now. Like shoots chains out of his mouth, and then like wraps it all around Kazan's angel body, and then hurls it back into these demons as they're flying back into hell, or being pulled back into hell, and it pulls him into hell as well. So Kazan gets pulled back into hell, and Ghost Rider's like, I fucking did it. Like hell closes itself, and then Ghost Rider's like, I fucking did it. I'm free. Like hell is closed. I did what I said I was gonna do, and now and right as he says that, a fucking bullet through the skull. We see the preacher is now has actually successfully brained or shot Ghost Rider through the brain. And then this was funny. So we cut back up to Catmint, who's still has the boss on the edge of the thing. He's just said the incantation, and he's like, are you happy now? Please pull me back. And she's like, okay, yes, sir. And as she's about to do that, Ruth comes up behind her and goes, boo! And pushes, and that makes Catman scared and lets him go, and he falls into the pit, I guess, that they created, the hole. I don't know if he actually goes to hell, but it just...
I love her. She's just like, oh, goodness.
Yes. And then we also cut to, now that the preacher, or the priest, I don't want to call him preacher, but he's a priest, Catholic priest. The priest has fulfilled his mission to the demon or whatever that he sold his soul to. But then he wakes up now that he's dead. After he completed his mission, his body dies or whatever. And he's like, Father Adam. awake, Father Adam? He's like, he's like, Lord, really? I never thought, like, I was a sinner. And he's like, and then you see like this holy one come down, and then he's like, no, not really. You sold your soul to the devil, you dumb looking piece of shit. Like, and then all of a sudden he bursts into flames, and it's actually Haas.
Yeah,
Haas was fucking with him. He's like,
you're gonna burn in hell forever.
You're gonna burn in hell. And so the priest goes down to hell, and then
this is where we really find out like what Malachi's plan with all of this was, because Ghost Rider's like, I'm free, like everything should be fine now. And then Malachi comes down and is like, actually, yeah, that's
about
that you're still gonna have to go to hell. And he's like, what do you mean, Malachi? What's the meaning of this?
We had a deal.
Yeah. He's like, well, you see, actually, and he's about to give his big bad speech, basically. And then Ruth pops up behind him and just rips his wings off.
This is so fucking cool.
It was very like bloody and brutal.
Yeah,
it was very cool.
I was like, oh my God. I did not see Ruth coming back and ripping his fucking wings off.
And like Haas comes up behind Ghost Rider and almost like a pat him on the back thing, like, well, hey, that'll brighten up your day, right?
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious. Like, that'll put a smile on your face. You see this fucker get his wings ripped off? So then Haas basically breaks down what happened. He's like, you see this guy, Malachi, was actually Kazan's brother. When Kazan used to be an angel, was named Micah.
Yeah.
So, and what happened was Micah, when the fall happened, sided with Satan, I guess.
Yeah, he went down with Lucifer and
became Kazan. And then, but they kept in touch. They were still pen pals.
Yeah.
And so that's actually what happened. Malachi and Micah, or Kazan now, used each other. They were feeding each other inside information on each's position. So that way, they could each use each other to rise through the ranks of heaven to get to certain levels, and hell to get to certain levels.
Mm-hmm.
And and then that's.
But Haas and Ruth, because they work with the, well, no, there has to be a balance between heaven and hell. So they were basically working together this whole time too, to stop their plan. So
yeah, and like basically they're buddy kind of like Malachi and Micah were, as far as like telling each other stuff, but they're not brothers or whatever. So, and then unfortunately, because Malachi was the one who made the deal with him, and even though Malachi wasn't going to honor it or whatever, like basically Ghost Rider was either going to die or he's going to have to go back to hell now. So, yep. He gets sent back to hell.
Haas is like, yeah, that ain't that bad, right? At least you know what you're in for.
Yeah, I mean, every night you get the same thing over and over and over. So, yeah, and then he's like, well, there's one better thing, though. And he grabs, as he's getting pulled back into hell, his chains fly out, and he grabs Malachi, who's still alive, just he doesn't have his wings.
Yeah.
And then it's like, at least it's not just my screams. I get some other screams to comfort me, too. And you see he's just dragging Malachi behind him now every night.
Yeah, he's like dragging him behind his bike.
Yeah, so like he's also just burning in hell all the time too, and it's like he gets to have revenge on that guy as well. So like,
so at least there's that.
At least there's that. So that is the end of The Road to Damnation. What did you think, John? What would you give it?
I liked it. I mean, it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite one we read, but I still enjoyed it. Like you said,
why? Like what is?
Well, so I think what the problem here.
We were talking about this earlier before we started recording, and I was trying to just pinpoint what is weak in this. Like,
I think the problem for me is I'm having a hard time taking the context of when this was written compared to seeing similar and knowing similar like enough stories now,
right?
In other like media and art forms.
Yeah, because this came out in 2006.
Yeah.
And since then, shows like Supernatural or characters like Constantine, or even the other comic Hellblazer, things like that, have touched on similar topics of religion and things, or even like Battle Pope, or what you're reading things that are what at the time this is fairly like shocking or whatever, but now it's not. Because this has already been talked about a bunch. You get Lucifer on TV. You got Sandman on TV now. You get all these things now that are kind of along the same line. And that's what we kind of came to the conclusion of. It must just be because you've already seen this kind of story before.
I'm assuming that and or like also like I was kind of sad that Ghost Rider had to go back to hell. Like,
yeah, I thought that's why because it's volume 5. So I thought maybe it ends.
But this is like a self-contained story.
But it says volume 5, so I'm thinking it should just be called a miniseries then. It shouldn't be volume 5 because this is a self-contained story. It should only be a series if he ended it with the anticipation of someone coming behind him to write the next 12 or 6 issues or whatever and continuing the numbering or whatever. Because it doesn't make any sense that this little miniseries that's 6 issues long is a volume, you know? It should like a series volume. Because if you think about like Swamp Thing, volume 1 is 24 issues long. Volume 2 is 175 issues long. Like these are giant runs that are called volumes, not 6 issues. Yeah, so
no, it's a trade.
Yes, exactly. So they shouldn't be called that. I don't know why they call it that, but it ends very succinctly. Like he's back exactly where he started. If someone wants to take it from there, they could, I guess. But he leaves, you know.
But I mean, it would be the same kind of thing. Like, okay, I'm going to pull you from hell if you do me something. Like, so it
right. But what I'm saying is, he might not have done that if it was actually supposed to be a series.
Yeah.
He would have just like had him be outside of hell or whatever, or dragged him back in and then rode out or something. You know, use him as fodder to get out or something like. You drop that body and all the
there you go. Yeah, you let him latch on to Malachi's body and then you take off.
Exactly. Or like bring him back as the angel, or bring him down to hell, and they're like, "Oh, this is even better," and then he gets out because that's his payment or something.
Yeah, they're like, you know, we're okay with this.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. You could have done something like that, where instead of just he wraps it up. You know, so that's why I'm like, there's no reason this should be called that. But anyway, back to what. So
I'm not saying like I said, I enjoyed the story. I think that this one was harder for me to take out of that context of being like, oh well, like I've seen these kind of things.
Yeah, and also if you've ever read any of the Garth Ennis other stuff, there are things that you're like, okay, like when the kid pokes himself in the, or stabs himself in the eye, when all the KKK members explode, like those are scenes where you're like, very Garth Ennis. Like it's kind of like watching a Die Hard movie, and he says, Yippee-ki-yay. Yeah, you're like, that is what he says, Like,
he said the line.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but yeah, and then like you said, like the art. Anytime it's like ghostwriter writing or ghostwriter like doing something specific, that looks awesome.
I wonder if it's because he's a skull, and like the skull is easier to do from different points of view or something.
Maybe, but I know. Yeah, for some reason, like some of the other art in this was lackluster. To say the least.
And once again, it could be the coloring, because also the coloring looks like it was filmed, or it looks like it was like a 18-bit like paint program or something that did it, because it's very grainy kind of
sometimes
in a lot of stuff. So, or it looks grainy. I don't know if that's what they're going for or what.
But like you said, it was good, and I still enjoyed it. So I would say overall, I would probably give this one. I would probably say a 5.5.
5.5, okay.
Like it was good. It was decent. I enjoyed it.
No, I got you. Well, I would give this one higher if the art wasn't worse, or if the art was not so bad. I mean,
it's consistent.
If the art was at least consistently what the paintings were for Ghost Rider, but it's not. Like, the art just threw me off way too much in this one. So, and like I said, it's not a style, because the style is there for Ghost Rider and stuff, but it's way cooler when Ghost Rider's on the page than when other people are. So, I thought the story itself was very solid. I thought it was very much a Garth Ennis story. So if you like his stuff, is very up that alley or whatever. I just thought the art was too bad to like give it anything higher than like a 6.5. Okay. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 because I did enjoy the story a lot. I laughed a lot in this book. Like when I read Garth Ennis stories, you're just always like, holy fuck. Like you're just in shock of what he's going to do to people and stuff. And this is a good character for him to be able to do that because he's from hell and all that. So he's fighting demons and everything. And I like I was telling John, one of the things I like about these kind of stories is those rules about like, those Catholic rules about like what demons are allowed to do, what angels are allowed to do, what humans can do to those beings are fun to fuck around with to me. And then also like the like what angels, like how you show angels being like fucking assholes or what, like I like that because the trope is, oh, they're like flying around helping us out. It's like, I like when they're like assholes who are doing whatever they want to do, and we get in the way sometimes. And we're like, blow up, like you go away now. Like they said, oh, she just had a miscarriage. One less mouth to feed. Who cares? So like, yeah, it's just kind of like I enjoy that. It makes me laugh out loud when I read these kind of stories, which is why I like Hellblazer a lot. He's one of my favorite characters because he's so like sacrilegious or sacrilegious or sacrilegious, as you could say. Like you just want to see his like edgelord, come out or whatever. And I enjoy that about Garth Ennis when he writes him. Oh, that was the other thing we read Garth Ennis, because we were trying to figure out what have we read by Garth Ennis, and I was like, I know we've read something. We read his Hellblazer story. That was the one where he does fuck you to Satan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so that's it's very the same vein or whatever. And so yeah, like I just enjoyed this one, especially since I like Garth Ennis' style, and because it was like with this character, it was kind of a new version of that. It was a little more Marvel. It was a little more tongue in cheek than he normally is. He's a little bit more cynical, I think, or harder, I think, with other characters like Hellblazer or whatever. So in this one, it was a little more like tongue in cheek and fun.
Yeah,
like I could tell he was like, Haas is a fun character for him to write, because fuck it, I can just have him put this dude's head up his ass and joke around, and it's like, okay, this is fun. Like,
you say something?
Yeah, exactly. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. just farting the whole time. So yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I just think the art was like, why? What is this? I don't understand this art at all. So, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Clayton Crane has like amazing art, and just the coloring was really bad on this or something. I don't know, but it just didn't do it for me in the way that they printed it in this version or whatever. So, but yeah, so you get a 5.5. I give it a 6.5. What are we reading next week, John?
What are we reading next week? Next week we're going to do a Superman story.
Superman!
What was it? Superman?
For All Seasons.
For All Seasons.
So kind of continuing our love of Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale stories. Another team up they did was a Superman story called For All Seasons. Now, I have read this a long ass time ago. I don't remember what it is. I just remember it being very good and very wholesome and very Thanksgiving, And so I think it is actually seasonal somewhat, because it's like it says For All Seasons. So I think like there are like it goes through the seasons. About something. So.
Well, if I remember correctly, you think we said it was like kind of like what makes Superman like the wholesome like hero he is, not like necessarily the super being that he is.
Yes.
So that sounds cool.
And if you read modern day Superman, or even watch like the Superman movie and stuff, this might be a nice refresher for you, because this is like the nice Superman, like the one who doesn't snap Zod's neck at the end, or like
that is different.
Exactly. No, I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
If that's the one you don't like, then check this one out, because this is the classic. Them being like, this is why Superman is amazing.
Yeah. Because
of his values or whatever. Like we're gonna talk about family values. All right. Like, so yeah. This is him being all old school Superman-y. So if that edgelord dark Superman doesn't do it for you in the comics now, or in the movies, then check For All Seasons out and read that beforehand, or just hear us spoil it or whatever and talk about it. So on that note, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planetrainsandcomicbooks, all one word, @gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channel for exclusive content.
And if you all feel like you want to, or you're so inclined, please check out our support page at ko-fi.com/planetrainsandcomicbooks, where we have our support page. You can donate there if you want, or we have a tier right now that's just kind of like the starter tier. We're going to have memberships where I'm doing a podcast of all the Spawn issues. So if you like Matt's minis with Swamp Thing, I'm going to be doing Spawn, and I'm going to be putting up there only for people who want that membership tier. And then same with, I believe we're going to start doing reaction videos to, or I guess reaction/reviews to Justice League Unlimited. So we're going to start with that. And then we have a couple other things that we're talking about too, like maybe the Swamp Thing CW show, or DC Universe show, or
maybe the '90s X-Men show, since we heard that they're gonna do some. It's maybe like a continuation kind of
the '97 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but that interesting thing, Marvel.
Whatever we're not sure what it is, but I want to rewatch the old one from the the '95 or whatever the fuck that was, the old cartoon, the X-Men. And so if you want to hear our thoughts on that, and like we said, we'll review it and we'll talk about it and stuff, and we'll react to it, and we'll put that all up on that Coffee page for you to support us if you would like. So check that out for sure. We'll put links on all our stuff for that. And with that being said, we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.